He meticulously rehearsed the voice from a recording, stood before a mirror adjusting an employee badge, and transformed into a frail old man shuffling out of a bathroom, a gun tucked at his waist. As a top-tier assassin, this disguise was a critical step before any hit. After some expert makeup, he became an elderly janitor in an instant. Leaving no detail overlooked, he took the target's entire outfit, double-checking everything before stepping outside. Though he didn't smoke, he mimicked the stench of cigarettes on the janitor's clothes, crushed a cigarette, and carefully pocketed the butt. Entering a building, he was greeted by guards speaking German. He faked a coughing fit to avoid responding, then calmly pushed a cleaning cart into the elevator. He swiped the employee badge, his disguise fooling even the facial recognition system. At the office, he mimicked the learned voice to greet the guards. Passing the first hurdle, spotting tonight's target, he slipped into an empty office, closed the blinds, turned on a noisy cleaning device, and attached a suppressor to his gun. Suddenly, someone walked in. As he prepared to leave, he ran into a guard. Without hesitation, he shot the guard down and aimed at the target. Unfortunately, the target dodged the bullet. He eliminated the guard and chased after the target, who fled via the stairs. He waited, firing a shot that hit the target's leg. As the target tumbled down, he coldly fired again. But, against all odds, the bullet hit the wall instead. When the target realized they were still alive, he had already vanished. He raced to the rooftop, tossed a smoke grenade into the crowd as police cars arrived, and rappelled down through the haze to escape. Back at his rented room, after executing a series of precise moves, he allowed himself a satisfied smile. As an elite assassin, he never let a target live, unless it was part of the plan. As it turned out, the real target hadn't yet appeared. No one knew his real name. In the underworld, they called him the Jackal. The next morning, he removed a glass panel on the balcony, used a pinwheel to check the wind, and opened a suitcase containing disassembled weapons. The pipes became the barrel, the frame the rifle's body. Once assembled, he had a fully functional sniper rifle. He prepared 4 bullets, capable of hitting a target 4 kilometers away. He took a test shot, but the first bullet veered 20 degrees off. Unfazed, he loaded the second, adjusted, and hit the mark perfectly. At that moment, the real target appeared at a hospital gate, the German presidential candidate. The previous night, he had intentionally wounded the candidate's son to lure the target here. But the window was tight, only 10 seconds from the car to the hospital entrance. How could he pull it off? A shot rang out. He stayed still, watching the target enter the hospital. Suddenly, the target collapsed, yet he didn't move, aiming at the head bodyguard who had spotted his position. Instead of firing, he dismantled the rifle, reassembled it into a suitcase, put on a coat and cap, and planted a timed bomb under the bed before leaving. He triggered the fire alarm, walked out, and got into a prearranged car, driving past police without a hint of panic. In a parking garage, he switched to a second car. As armed police arrived, the bomb detonated, and the abandoned car served its purpose. He arrived at a villa, paid for an expensive chess set, and crossed into France that night. His suitcase passed every inspection. At a train station, he entered an internet cafe, plugged in a USB, and accessed a dark web app to contact his client and collect payment. But this time, the client offered a massive job, $10 million. The target was so secretive it couldn't be discussed online, only in person. He demanded an extra $1 million deposit, half up front, before agreeing to meet at the designated spot. Soon after, he drove to a park in Sweden, hiding in the bushes to observe. A middle-aged woman stepped out of a car nearby. The meeting point was a lakeside house. She didn't know the Jackal was there, only hearing his voice. "Don't turn around. Are you alone?" "Yes, I followed your instructions." This was the Jackal's style, his first time meeting a client face-to-face. "Who's the target?" "Ool Dag Charles." Hearing the name, the Jackal raised his fee tenfold, demanding half up front and the rest upon completion. He left, leaving the woman stunned. The next day, he returned to a seaside home in Spain. Before getting out of the car, he stashed his gun in a bag, opened the gate, and walked toward the pool where his wife waited. He'd come back a week early to celebrate her birthday. In his study, he locked the door, hid the gun in a safe, and checked the dark web app. The assassination was successful, but $3.75 million remained unpaid. The client even insulted him. For an elite assassin, this was the first time he dealt with such a despicable client. Suppressing his anger, he sensed the peaceful life he'd built was on the verge of collapse. Meanwhile, Bianca, an MI6 agent with a passion for firearms, spotted a flaw while watching news of the German candidate's assassination. "No, something's off. The assassin's shot couldn't have reached 3,185 meters. Worse, German intelligence had nothing but a glimpse of the assassin's back, so they turned to MI6 for help. The question was, where was the assassin's gun hidden? If carried, the barrel for that range would be larger than a suitcase." Bianca suspected the sniper rifle was custom-made. She knew of a man named Norman who had plotted to create such weapons but had been at large since a 2018 Stockholm assassination. Norman had a partner, Larry, a gunsmith, released to Ireland under a peace agreement. Larry was her lead. To trace the rifle, Bianca contacted Sparrow, Larry's wife, who was obligated to cooperate under the agreement. But finding Norman wasn't easy. With no timely intel, Bianca resorted to using Sparrow's daughter, a student activist, as leverage. Police arrested the girl for assaulting an officer, forcing her to call her mother for bail. Tragically, the girl suffered a heart attack and was rushed to the hospital. The next day, Sparrow called Bianca, furious but agreeing to help. Devastatingly, Sparrow's daughter died in the hospital. The intelligence unit faced a crisis. A lawyer could only delay the news for 24 hours. Desperate, Bianca pressed Sparrow to secure contact details to free her daughter. After hanging up, Sparrow, in tears, said she needed money to bail out her daughter. She urged her husband, Larry, to call his brother Norman for help. That night, they waited for Norman at a bar. Seizing the moment, Sparrow snapped a photo of a phone number from Larry's phone and sent it to Bianca. Upon receiving the message, Bianca alerted the intelligence agency to track the target's location. The next day, with support from Allied units, Bianca crossed the border into Latvia, leading an armed team to follow the lead. But when she called the number, no one answered. She tried the house, but it was silent. Her team stormed in, only to be met with a deafening explosion followed by a hail of gunfire. One unlucky soldier died in the chaos. Bianca chased the target, but he jumped into a car and sped off. Damn it. It was a trap. Norman had anticipated the ambush. Still, Bianca didn't come away empty-handed. She found a suitcase Norman abandoned during his escape, identical to the assassin's. Meanwhile, the Jackal had no idea he was up against a formidable foe hunting him down. At the same time, the Jackal faced issues with his previous job. Despite completing the hit, he hadn't been paid in full. The client's refusal wasn't just a minor issue, it threatened his reputation in the underworld. He contacted the dark web, determined to trace the money. But as he resumed work, a new $100 million contract came in. The target, a Libyan-American billionaire whose company developed software exposing the wealth of global tycoons. The software enraged other billionaires, who wanted their dark secrets hidden. A female billionaire hired the Jackal, the world's top assassin, but he was busy planning his wife's birthday. When he learned the client's payment verification failed, he reluctantly said goodbye to his family and returned to his deadly trade. His wife drove him to the airport, but as soon as he got out, he headed to the parking garage, hopped into a taxi, and removed his wedding ring. The cold-blooded Jackal was back. At a bank, he selected a passport from a stack of fakes, grabbed a wad of cash, and stuffed it into his bag. But he overlooked one detail. His wife, out buying flowers, spotted him. When he didn't answer her calls, she grew suspicious of her perpetually traveling husband. She wasn't the only one. Bianca, at MI6, studied surveillance footage and confirmed the assassin was right-handed, often using a 9mm Browning pistol. This puzzled her. Why not a more powerful weapon? She concluded the Jackal was a professional British assassin, likely ex-military. Until 2013, British soldiers used Brownings. His bag, made by a small UK company, wasn't exported and had only hit the market 8 months ago. This suggested both the assassin and his arms supplier were British. Fearing public backlash, MI6 higher-ups proceeded cautiously. The next investigation phase traced military academy records from 30 years ago. Meanwhile, the Jackal got a call from the client, who agreed to the $100 million fee but insisted on a face-to-face meeting. Soon after, the woman received a letter while dining. Following its instructions, she went to a bustling street. The Jackal, disguised as someone else, tailed her unnoticed, keeping a 10-meter distance. When she sat on a park bench, his familiar voice spoke. "Look straight ahead." Their second meeting, she agreed to the fee but could only pay $20 million upfront, demanding the job be done within a week. After the software's release, the hit would be pointless. After a brief pause, they struck a deal. She named the operation Loden. The Jackal suggested his alias, Jackal. That's how the name was born. He went to a bank, traced the money, and found a company. Digging through websites from the UK to France to the Netherlands, he uncovered the parent company, registered in Guernsey under a private trust. The ultimate beneficiary was a man named Elias. Damn it. Disguised again, he visited a funeral home, claiming his mother died and needed a service. During an emotional chat with the manager, he faked a severe headache. As the manager left to grab medicine from her car, he plugged in a USB, planting a virus in their computer. When she returned, he'd finished. "I got your medicine. Thanks." Suspecting a link between the client and the target, he saw clues at the presidential candidate's funeral organized by the son. He noticed a representative from the client's private investment fund on the guest list. Then his wife called, growing suspicious of his odd behavior. She searched his study, finding empty drawers, discovering a safe in the closet. She called the family, but they couldn't open it. Checking the house's blueprints, she found a hidden room behind a glass panel. Inside, they were stunned. Drawers stuffed with foreign cash and fake passports, 2 guns, and disguise masks on a vanity. The Jackal realized his assassin identity was at risk. He needed a new cover, a blonde, glasses-wearing driver. "Open the trunk. Don't shoot me." No target of the Jackal's ever survived. He forced the man into the trunk, stole his identity, and became a funeral home driver. The bespectacled man was his target. The candidate's funeral was heavily guarded, with a 3-second route that took him 3 minutes. The Jackal stayed calm, his target was in his grasp. As the convoy passed the first intersection, he acted, neutralizing the front seat guard and speeding left. The target in the back panicked, calling the head bodyguard. But the Jackal focused on driving, crashing onto the sidewalk, spinning the car, and barreling down the road, mowing down anyone in his way. Turning into an alley, he hit a blocking car, reversed, but guards were behind him. He weaved through a construction site, smashing barriers, expertly spinning the car, and stopped in a deserted alley. Elias was terrified. "Who are you?" "You know who I am." To survive, the candidate's son admitted he hired the Jackal to kill his father. He'd shot the son's leg, leading to the unpaid balance. Unbeknownst to him, the dropped phone was still connected, broadcasting his confession to the head bodyguard. Despite his pleas to pay the rest, money no longer mattered. With the job settled, the Jackal changed clothes. His phone pinged a security alert. He set a time bomb, unlocked a building's door, and hid in a corner. When the head bodyguard arrived, the bomb exploded. Satisfied no traces remained, he left, but to take on the next job, he had to fix things at home. He called his wife, admitted he was hiding something, and asked to meet in Paris to explain everything. Thinking everything would be resolved smoothly, the Jackal ran into new trouble. Distracted while driving, he rear-ended a truck. No big deal, he was willing to pay for the damage, but the driver exploded, refusing the money and calling traffic police. The Jackal stayed calm, presenting fake documents he'd prepared, but then the cop demanded to check his trunk. Inside the bag, they found a gun and a stack of cash. The cop froze, but as he looked up, it was his last moment. In a split second, a minor fender bender forced the assassin to kill to cover his tracks. Instinct kicked in. He staged the scene to look like the cop and driver killed each other. Carefully wiping his fingerprints, he retrieved his documents and drove off. He didn't want this, but the driver had pushed him too far. In Paris, the Jackal removed the car's license plate, wiped it clean of prints, and even stole a tarp to cover it. He stashed his gun in a safe, put his wedding ring back on, and greeted his wife with a smile, only to be met with a stinging slap. Luckily, he got a chance to explain. The truth surfaced. He admitted to lying but swore his love for her and their kids was real. He claimed his job was as a troubleshooter for multinational corporations, sometimes skirting the law but never killing. He was just a corporate spy for hire, always traveling. He promised this would be his last job before retiring for good. Though skeptical, his wife agreed to wait 2 weeks for proof. The next morning, while she was still asleep, he left the hotel. Meanwhile, the client heard of the Jackal's exploits in Munich, even killing a client over unpaid fees. Unfazed, the billionaire believed in his professionalism. To ensure the hit's success, she pressed her subordinates to rush him. They didn't know the target was hiding on a heavily guarded private island, with the only chance for a hit at a product launch press conference. The woman learned the conference's location. The Jackal rushed to Tallinn, Estonia, scouting the venue. He struck up a conversation with an approachable stranger, slipping tools into their bag. As the event began, the crowd stood excitedly, and soundproof panels moved with the music. He found the perfect assassination spot. He accessed the top-floor equipment room, picking the lock to check the LED screen controls. Climbing carefully, he found the best sniping angle near the DJ booth. But as he snapped a photo, the rig shifted, nearly throwing him off. He grabbed a loose cable, but his phone fell, dangling mid-air. He faced a deadly drop. Luckily, the rig returned to its original position, and he climbed to safety. After the concert, no one found his phone. With a staff member's help, he heard it ring and retrieved it, gaining an ally to aid his mission, but the next encounter chilled him. Returning home, he found the client's subordinate waiting in his living room. "Hello. What now?" She wasn't likely to survive the night. Though he stayed silent, he heard a familiar name. "You don't want to mess with these people. They're bigger than you think. If you don't believe me, ask Norman Stoke." The ordinary-looking suitcase was actually a custom sniper rifle, disassembled. Its parts formed a deadly weapon in under 3 minutes, the same one used to kill the presidential candidate. The intelligence agency was stunned, determined to catch the gunsmith. Despite having a list of top military academy graduates, none had ever hit a target at 4 kilometers. Bianca, still investigating, was grilled by the agency over a leak that led to 2 cops' deaths. Everyone with mission details was a suspect. Soon, her superiors called her in, suspecting an agency mole. Bianca had to keep her team at a distance during breakthroughs. The tech team cracked the phone in the suitcase, finding a suspicious number that frequently contacted Norman 3 weeks before the assassination but went silent afterward. "Do you know who called?" "Yes. The Jackal." Through a colleague, Bianca learned the target, code-named Loden, was the Jackal's next hit, with part of the payment already made. Time was running out. Fortunately, a subordinate found a lead, a networking group of academy alumni. Bianca questioned the group's leader, who said even their best sniper couldn't hit at 4 kilometers. The only one capable died with his team in a mission 10 years ago. Bianca ordered her team to dig into that mission, verifying if the sniper's body was recovered. Returning to the agency at night, she got a distress text from Sparrow. At the location, only Larry was there, attacking her with a knife. Bianca fled, calling for backup and luring him into an agency trap, but a passing freight train let Larry jump aboard and escape. Out of options, Bianca led a team to a hotel, finding Sparrow dead on the bed. Larry had discovered she betrayed him and Norman. When superiors pressed for updates, Bianca stayed cautious to avoid leaks. Trust in the agency evaporated, even her team lost motivation. Luckily, she had a temporary assistant, but returning home, she found Larry threatening her daughter.
"I want you to see this."
Larry walked right into the trap. The next day, Bianca stormed into the hospital holding him. She pulled the curtain, pressed a pillow to his face, and demanded Norman's whereabouts. If he talked, he and Norman would face just 5 years in prison. But if the assassin learned of the leak, he'd kill to silence them. Finally, Larry gave a vague lead. Budapest. Back at the agency, using Larry's jumbled description, Bianca and her assistant pinpointed Norman's location. By chance, she discovered Loden was the billionaire in the news. Knowing the Jackal's target, they were closing in on him. With logistical support from her superiors, Bianca launched a manhunt for Norman. This was her closest brush with the Jackal. As a top assassin, he was being monitored by the client's subordinate. No one had seen his true face, but this was his final big job before retiring, killing a global billionaire. With less than a week left, despite the client's demands, the Jackal courteously told her to wait for updates at the hotel. As she left, he spotted a girl with a broken leg fishing by the lake. A-Cast was the perfect place to hide a gun. He plugged in a USB, emailed his weaponsmith friend Norman, who sent back a phone number. They quickly connected. Every tough hit the Jackal pulled off had Norman's support, but he ensured absolute safety before proceeding. Norman had narrowly escaped the agency but injured his right hand. "You know I don't like risks." After a brief pause, the Jackal outlined his needs: a sniper rifle for a 75-meter shot from the venue's ceiling to the stage. The challenge was metal detectors and sensitive scanners. The job had to be done in 5 days, but Norman's injured hand was useless. Larry was gone, and there was no one trustworthy. "Do you trust me?" Soon after, the Jackal arrived in Budapest, Hungary. He waited 20 minutes in a square before answering a call. The other side was cautious. It was their first meeting. They said nothing, just exchanged smiles, and set off. The car drove to the suburbs, entering a horse farm. This was Norman's hideout, packed with guns and ammo. The Jackal noticed a sniper rifle, identical to one from a failed mission 10 years ago. Professionals need few words. He handed over a cast design, thick enough to fool scanners, but the barrel required advanced 3D printing. The weapon was single-use, but Norman made it reusable. Norman talked, the Jackal coded. In 12 hours, the rifle's key parts were done. They toasted. Norman revealed his attacker was a black woman ambushed in Russia. He didn't know who tipped him off to escape MI6, only recalling a "leave now" text. The Jackal sensed danger, urging Norman to be cautious. They didn't know the real threat was closing in. With Hungarian police support, Bianca's team rushed to the farm. The cast was complete, fooling security scanners, disassembled. It held the rifle's parts, assembled. It was a 75-meter sniper rifle, with bullets hidden in a phone. Only 8 could be carried. The Jackal bought tools, grabbed a watermelon from a market as a target, hung it 75 meters away on a tree, secured the rifle with rope, and locked it in place. The watermelon was the target's head. The first shot veered 10 centimeters left. He adjusted the screws. The second was close, tweaking the scope. The third hit dead on. With real bullets, the watermelon exploded. On the way back, he spotted a suspicious Audi creeping along. Passing it, he saw it was Bianca's. Sensing trouble, he stopped, waited for her to pass, and entered a diner. But the car returned. Bianca's armed team had cut the area's power. Feeling the heat, the Jackal called Norman. As they connected, Bianca's team stormed the farm. Panicked, Norman wiped his computer and stood at the door with a gun. "Come on, you bastards." But Bianca, learning from the last mission, used a surprise tactic to subdue the cunning Norman. "Hello, Norman." Interrogation was tough, every question aimed at the mysterious assassin. Though Norman stayed silent, Bianca found the Jackal's bag on a chair. She realized Norman gave Larry her address, endangering her daughter, who was behind the leak. She planned to pit the brothers against each other to extract information, but then the Jackal took out his ally cleanly, but when he reloaded, Bianca vanished from his scope. Less than 100 meters from the scene, he circled around but was spotted by an agent. His position exposed, he fled on horseback. Bianca chased, firing, in the dark forest. He crashed into a branch. When Bianca arrived, only the horse emerged. Before she could react, the Jackal shot an agent, who survived thanks to a bulletproof vest. As he reloaded, Bianca appeared on his left. He bolted through the forest, leaping off a cliff. Bianca was furious. She'd been so close to the Jackal and failed. Bullets fired into the water were useless. The Jackal swam away, gun in hand. "You bastard." Reaching shore, he gasped for air. Heavy rain forced him into a warehouse, where he used hay as a bed. After an unknown time, he woke to a gun pointed at him, a farmer. He lunged but was knocked out. With only 4 days left to kill the billionaire, can the Jackal escape and complete the mission? This is the recap of Season 1 of The Day of the Jackal, now airing. Want us to continue with the next part? Let us know in the comments below. If enough of you are excited, we'll keep going. Thanks for following along. See you next time.